I hear you men got a gripe with the cookie.
Go ahead, Red, tell him.
Well, Captain, it's about this Meisterbrow he's been laying on board.
He's got expensive taste for a galley rat, don't he?
Captain, the radio man on the Eloise just told Pinky here it's not expensive.
Just taste expensive.
And what's Cookie doing with this bucket's beer money?
You're a very big American spender, Mr. Cookie.
Rich, smooth Meisterbrow. It only tastes expensive.
Rock and roll survivor Grace Slick, 7:30 tonight.
This is Eyewitness News with Roger Grimsby, Bill Butel, plus Storm Field, Corey McFerrin, and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, I'm Roger Grimsby. Here now the news. The man who could blow the city bribe scandal out of the water appeared in court. Ex-official Jeffrey Lindenauer pleading guilty to 2 corruption charges. Federal grand jury testimony to come as part of a plea bargaining deal. Tim Fleischer is live now. Fully square, we switch to him.
Roger, it was nothing short of a confession by one former city official, Jeffrey Lindenauer, admitting that he took hundreds of thousands of dollars from city contractors. His guilty plea was expected. What he said, though, came as a bit of a surprise. Jeffrey Lindenauer has at least kept the first part of his deal with investigators probing the alleged corruption at the Parking Violations Bureau by pleading guilty to charges of racketeering and mail fraud. And revealing for the first time, Lindenauer admitted in federal court to his role. Sometime in 1983, he said, to assist City Sources Incorporated to fraudulently obtain a contract with the City of New York, I made a false statement to the Contract Selection Committee that I had seen a prototype that would be of a handheld computer to catch scofflaws, when in fact I did not. Then, confirming earlier allegations, Lindenauer admitted, as an employee of PVB, I requested and received money on behalf of myself and others from contractors. He had extorted more than $400,000 from several contractors doing business with the city. Jeffrey Lindenauer must now tell all he knows, and his testimony is expected to enhance, for one, the case against former Queensboro President Donald Maness. His testimony is also considered critical in the investigation of Bronx Democratic Chairman Stanley Friedman.
He's also agreed to cooperate and explain in detail everything that he knows about corruption within the Parking Violations Bureau and elsewhere. And I think those are very important, positive steps in getting into the appropriate forum these allegations and getting them resolved.
He made the comment in court, as an employee of PVB, I requested and received money on behalf of myself and others for contractors. Who are the others?
I can't categorize the people or discuss who they are or anything like that.
But he's got to name names, though.
Of course, yeah, that's part of the agreement, is that he's got to tell the truth completely, absolutely, and it would be a breach of the agreement if he didn't.
While U.S. Attorney Rudolph Giuliani would not confirm or deny it, Lindenauer is expected to reveal his testimony to a federal grand jury. Lindenauer's attorney also would make no comment.
I have no comment about the case, and we will issue a formal statement at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Lindenauer will be sentenced on May 12th. He could face as many as 25 years in prison and fines of $500,000. But even that could be postponed, apparently because he's got an awful lot of talking to do. No less than 7 different investigators want to talk and hear what Jeffrey Lindenauer has to say. Reporting live from Foley Square, Tim Fleischer, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Bill?
Thank you, Tim. And while the federal prosecutor was busy with Lindenauer in Manhattan, the prosecutor in Queens was busy with a case of arson. A car owned by District Attorney John Santucci's son was set on fire in the DA's driveway. We have the story from Garrett Glazer.
It happened about 11 last night in the driveway of Santucci's home on a quiet street in South Ozone Park. The DA, his wife, and son Tom, a Queens Democratic District leader and lawyer, had just watched a TV movie when they heard the sound of a car door slamming. They went to the front screen door to take a look, and that's when they saw the fire coming from the interior of Tom Santucci's late model Mazda.
This morning, the car is gone. Investigators took it away last night. We talked to Mrs. Santucci in an off-camera interview and asked her if anything like this had ever happened before. She said, no, we've lived here 27 years. There have been threats against John in the past, but never an actual incident.
A police officer was posted outside today. We're told Santucci spent the day here, cleaning up and helping his wife. Santucci would not talk about the incident on camera today, but an office spokesman told Eyewitness News the family is understandably concerned about what happened. It is not the first time there's been trouble. November 1984, the Narcotics and Rackets Bureau of Santucci's office set afire. 3 months later, burglarized. The location was actually some distance from the DA's private office, but he said at the time he assumed the arsonist meant to target him and erred. No files were destroyed. Santucci currently prosecuting reputed Gambino organized crime boss John Gotti. Investigators not saying tonight whether they believe the trial and the fire are in any way connected. Fire marshal's investigators say there is no doubt the fire last night was set.
The police are investigating as well. Detectives here at the 106th Precinct in Ozone Park say there is little to go on, but they're canvassing the neighborhood anyway to see if anybody saw anything, trying to get even a basic idea of who did this and why. At the 106 in Ozone Park, Eric Glazer, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
We have late word this evening that Taxi and Limousine Commissioner Jay Turoff has resigned. He was going to leave the agency April 30th, but he resigned today suddenly with no explanation. Turoff is under investigation by the State Investigations Commission in connection with reports that he held a hidden interest in the Research Cab Corporation. A spokesperson for the Taxi and Limousine Commission says Jay Turoff left for personal reasons. Roger.
Now back to District Attorney Santucci. His case against the man said to be a boss of organized crime going to trial. John Gotti, the target, the charge beating up and stealing $325 from a driver who honked his horn at Gotti's double-parked car. Gotti's wife said he didn't need to beat people up or steal money. She has plenty, $1 million inherited from her mother.
There have been some interesting new twists and turns in the bitter battle over the will of the mega-millionaire Seward Johnson. Mary Nissenson, as you know, I think has been covering that story, and she's here now with the latest report on the Johnson's family fate and fortune, and a little bit of both.
Well, Bill, anybody who's been watching this will contest closely knows that it's taken a toll on the Johnson children. A lot's been said about their intimate lives that has been both embarrassing and painful. Their stepmother has painted them as a bunch of losers who've come to court because they're greedy. Today, the tables seem to turn a bit, and this time the hot seat belonged to Barbara. For the first time in a long time, the Johnson children were feeling like winners. Their stepmother is relying heavily on the testimony of a doctor, Dr. Fred Schilling, to prove that Seward Johnson was mentally competent.
Seward Johnson was never senile in my presence.
But Schilling's testimony may have been damaging. He admitted that only a week before the will was signed, a nurse described Johnson as confused, hallucinating that we're at war with Russia. If the children can prove that Johnson was incompetent, they may not be the only victors. The Harbor Branch Foundation could also benefit substantially. Started by Seward Johnson in 1971, it does oceanic research ranging from cancer treatments to new methods of underwater farming. Harbor Branch was cut out of Johnson's last will and testament, something the people who work here and who knew Seward Sr. told me they find almost unbelievable.
Harbor Branch Foundation, I think, was Seward Johnson's life. He helped develop it. He was a president of our group, and he loved marine science research, and he liked the way that we were conducting marine science research in that we were using manned submersibles and actually taking the eyes of the scientists right down to the work site.
Seward Jr. has been a key figure at Harbor Branch since before his father's death, and it has involved him in bitter battles with his stepmother, Barbara. Barbara Johnson has sued Seward Jr. for his, quote, gross mismanagement of Harbor Branch's stock portfolio, claiming that his poor investment choices have cost Harbor Branch tens of millions of dollars. It's a lawsuit that's left Seward Jr. shaken. We spoke with him when he was still waiting for a verdict.
But I felt very much under threat that I might end up on the street.
But Barbara Johnson lost that lawsuit. A judge in New Jersey threw it out on Friday, criticizing Mrs. Johnson harshly for attacking Seward Jr. and for misusing that suit to help herself in the will contest. The court stated, to whatever claims are made to her benefit, they are dismissed as being brought in bad faith and with unclean hands. The children are hoping that that lawsuit and the things the judge said about Mrs. Johnson will be introduced into evidence in the will contest. They say it proves her hostility, not only for the children, but for her husband's beloved Harbor Branch Foundation, and that it gives some important insight into what she's really like as a person. Roger?
Thank you, Mary. The reputation of Jacob Javits earned was one of high principle and of courage, evident right up to his death Friday. That he was respected, evident today at his memorial service in New York. Doug Johnson watched that service, is here now to report.
Well, Roger, Jacob Javits had battled Lou Gehrig's disease since 1979, but those who gathered today were there to pay tribute to a man who had battled to the end. One would expect that a man with Jacob Javits' long record of public service would be remembered by many. But that so many revered him is extraordinary for any man in public life.
When he was in a wheelchair and the only thing that could move would be his head and his eyes, he was filled with life. He never, ever surrendered. And that's the memory that I have of Jack Javits. Never to surrender, to live to the very last moment. And that's what he did.
The cream of power in politics filed into the Central Synagogue on Lexington at noon today. 1,400 people there to remember Jack Javits. Richard Nixon sat next to Gary Hart. Governor Cuomo sat next to Edwin Meese. But political differences were set aside as colleagues and friends remembered Jack Javits.
He was so consistent in his adherence to principle that he became a message in himself to those who supported him and to those who did not. The very name of Jack Javits was enough to convey the concept of commitment to justice and dignity and freedom.
There are few who have ever done as much to make America equal to its dream. May we be as resolute in pursuit of that dream as he was courageous in the long last years of his illness, when his smile and his spirit never failed, and with each labored breath, he urged us to do better.
He did not go gentle into that good night. Yea, he raged against the dying of the light and went luminously, gracefully, an example to the end. Jack L'Chaim.
Almost all who spoke today spoke of Javits as a man who had taught them something. Former Senator Howard Baker said he showed the rest of us that we should know who we are if we were to be trustees of the American system. Bill?
Thank you, Doug. We'll be back with Eyewitness News when we continue in just a moment.
Eyewitness News is brought to you in part by BMW.
The BMW 5 Series. 3 luxury sedans that transform information into exhilaration, fuel into adrenaline, and other sports sedans into idle pretenders. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
For a test drive, contact your New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut BMW dealers.
She is the mystery.
I don't care where you come from. Alaska will get you. It'll make you feel like a kid again.
Alaska is the story that my father told of swift rivers running with salmon and gold. Alaska is so many things I have never known. Alaska is the warming sun calling me home. She is the mystery that I will never tame. She is Alaska, Alaska. Alaska is her name.
There's only one way to get the story, and that's to get up to Alaska and discover it for yourself.
Alaska.
You know, Howard Stern's been taken off the air again.
Fabulous!
But now K-Rock has Howard on mornings from 6 to 10.
We'll sleep late.
Archbishop John Cardinal O'Connor moves back not an inch from his hardline stand on abortion, this time presenting an ultimatum to a medical school in Westchester County. John Marler now, and details on this. John?
Bill, John Cardinal O'Connor is not commenting publicly about it today, but his quotes in the New York Times have set off a controversy, with the college caught in the middle.
We start with 2 city-operated hospitals, Lincoln and Metropolitan, which both perform abortions. Enter New York Medical College. It has the $24 million a year contract to provide both hospitals with medical staff and services. The college was saved from financial collapse 8 years ago when the Archdiocese guaranteed $10 million in loans. Now the Archbishop of New York is quoted as saying, the choice for the college is either the church or the 2 hospitals. John Cardinal O'Connor says if the hospitals don't quit performing abortions, the college must discontinue its contract with them or sever ties with the Catholic Church. This controversy is not new. Because of concerns of the Archdiocese, there's been a special clause in the contract between the college and the hospitals. That clause says that college medical staff and faculty will not be used to perform abortions. Because of that, the hospitals have had to hire outside physicians for their abortions. The president of the college downplays reports about Cardinal O'Connor. He says the abortion controversy can be dealt with.
We have been sensitive to that problem in the past, and we have managed to deal with it very successfully, and I would expect that we would manage to deal with it successfully in the future, either in the same way or with some modification of the things that we're doing now with the city hospitals. And I also don't see that as threatening the city hospitals in any respect either.
Mayor Koch says abortions will continue at city hospitals, that it's the law, and he'll enforce the law. He says he is just doing his job, as is Cardinal O'Connor.
It's just as likely that I would be able to convince him to change his position to support gay rights legislation as it is that he would be able to get me to support legislation ending abortion. I mean, nobody would expect that, neither he nor I, of one another.
So what's going to happen next? We'll probably have to wait until the medical college trustees meet in May. While he is not suggesting it will be the outcome, the college president says the school can now survive without the financial aid of the Archdiocese. And tonight, still no further comment from the Archdiocese. Roger?
Thank you, John. The cancer rate for elderly people in New Jersey is one of the highest in the country. A study by Metropolitan Life shows the rate is particularly high among women 65 to 74. For every 100,000 of those women, 679 die of cancer each year, the third highest rate in the country. Only Delaware and Washington, D.C. have more cancer deaths among women of that age. And for every 100,000 New Jersey men that age, the rate is almost 1,184, fifth highest in the country. The Metropolitan study lists no reason. In New York, worry that asbestos found in a high school might cause cancer among students and staff. The teachers' union demanding some time ago that the stuff be removed. Now the Board of Education says the asbestos is gone. Mike Parker was there today when the school was closed for inspection.
For more than 2 hours, students and teachers were not allowed inside Seward Park High School. Inside, teachers' union officials were inspecting the place to see if, as the Board of Education had promised, all signs of the health hazard asbestos had been removed. Finally, teachers were brought inside and told it was safe to go back to work.
Report to your classes, and we'll be admitting youngsters in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Welcome home.
But the school's bill of health is clouded.
I am completely dissatisfied with the state of this building. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
The problem is no longer asbestos, but age and disrepair. In one classroom, the floor is rotting. It has turned to dust. There is ceiling leakage everywhere, including signs of it above the thousands of dollars worth of equipment in the school's computer classroom. And you can get a clear view of the East River from one of the dozens of broken windows at Seward Park.
Yeah, we have 2 panes that are broken there, and we've been trying to get them fixed for about 7 weeks now.
And what do they tell you?
They're trying. That's about it.
The problem, says the Board of Education, is lack of money and limited manpower.
I think that the building plant is secondary to the dedication of the teachers who work with the children.
But the young people of Seward Park say learning here, even with good teachers, is made harder by the surroundings.
Some of the walls that just come down on you. If not, the glass is all broken. If not, it's hard to listen because it's the way it is.
Not easy to learn, all the kids complaining, about the broken glass, the ceiling dropping, and, the holes in the floor. It's not easy every day coming here and learning.
The teachers union says it is planning more safety and health awareness raids on New York public schools. The idea is to put more heat on the city council and the Board of Education. The hope is that somehow there will be more money to make our schools safer places for our kids. On the Lower East Side, Mike Parker, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
The calendar tells us that spring is pretty much just around the corner. Storm will be along in a moment. We'll find out if the weatherman has a calendar.
Profiles and Contours invites you to our Park Avenue Center to discover computer imaging, the latest advance in cosmetic surgery. Our exclusive computer imaging system allows you to see how the rest of your life could look before surgery, not afterwards. Call Profiles and Contours at 861-4100 for a complimentary consultation with one of our board-certified surgeons and discover the difference.
Profiles and Contours, state-of-the-art cosmetic surgery.
Memorex brings you a slight exaggeration. Most floppy disk edges are sealed just here and there, but not Memorex. We seal every inch of every edge with solid seam bonding. So a Memorex edge fights bulges, puckers, warps. Because of all that jams your disk drive, you can lose all your data. And that's no exaggeration. Memorex has the edge.
It's a financing set. Where are you going? It's a financing set. What about the rumors? The senator's last meeting said something about a romance. Is there any truth to the rumors of a romance?
No, listen.
Okay, could you tell us about your clothes?
Excuse me. Can I ask you a question? And plan too.
Ever try borrowing for something unusual, like a family gym? Big financial institutions don't always understand, but someone does.
Hi, I'm Jack.
The boss at Beneficial. We're big, but we have beneficial home equity loans just right for home improvements. It's just you and the boss, and a commitment, usually in 48 hours.
That does it. Glad it worked out.
Beneficial. Talk to the manager, and you're talking to the boss.
They're trying to get some Long Island Lighting Company customers more in the way of compensation for the losses they suffered after Hurricane Gloria last September. Much of Suffolk County, you'll remember, was without power for 12 days when the hurricane struck. Now Richard Kessel, the head of the State Consumer Protection Board, says Lilco was not prepared to handle the emergency. He's using the Public Service Commission to find Lilco, or rather he's urging the Public Service Commission to find Lilco negligent. Unless that happens, consumers cannot get significant refunds for losses they suffered or incurred during the blackout. Lilco, however, says it handled the situation efficiently. Always handling the situation efficiently, no matter what weather he brings us, is Stormfield.
Thank you, William. Weather today was very nice.
Yes, it was.
I think you're going to be pleased with tomorrow's weather. Then the tide somewhat changes, I'm afraid. We do have some nice weather to look forward to tomorrow, but we've got to get through some rather messy weather overnight tonight into tomorrow morning before it gets here. Let's take a look at our readings. Outside at the moment, 40 degrees. That's very nice. Humidity, 79%. That's going to be a bit of a problem. Barometric pressure falling. Winds right now coming from the northeast at 9 miles an hour. Our high today, pretty close to where you'd normally expect to find it, 44. The low, 36, also a little bit warmer. So overall, we are fairly close to normal for this time of year. Records for this date getting up to 71 degrees in 1955, 12 degrees in 1929. Air quality today good. Tomorrow also good. Here's what we're talking about as far as the changes coming our way. Right now what we've got is a warm front that is extending itself and slowly making its way towards us. We also have a cold front that is sitting out to the west, ready to move in and clear out the warm front once it gets by. Here's the scenario. As the warm front comes up, we get moderation in our temperatures, and we also get quite a bit in the way of moisture coming up with it. Low pressure system acting almost like a mix master, swirling along that front, is going to stir up something in the way of some shower activity for later on tonight into tomorrow. Cold front comes in behind it, clears it all out, but before it clears it all out, it's going to give us sunshine, but not getting all the warm air away from us, which means tomorrow is going to be unusually mild, and then it will take a couple of days to slowly bring us back down to where we normally should be this time of year, which is around 46. For tomorrow, as you can see, high pressure sitting out to the west of us should be clearing us through. We get continuation of that mild flow from the south. Even though the cold front has moved by us, shower activity moves south. Today in Florida, they've had some rather severe thunder shower activity, especially around Lake Okeechobee, where they had some reports of railroad cars being literally knocked off their sidings. They were empty at the time. You also have some clouds and showers coming in from the west, so it's going to take a couple of days before this gets to us, which means that by Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, this is probably going to be the picture for us. Latest satellite picture again. As we're looking at it here, you're seeing plenty in the way of clouds out to the west of us. Really not much to worry about. You're noticing also we've got clear skies right now, but that's going to be ending as the clouds move in later on tonight. Forecast for tonight shows us with some increasing clouds and a good possibility of some showers developing. Temperatures, well, they're just going to be staying pretty much where they are right now, which is around 40 degrees, maybe dropping down a degree or two, maybe going up a degree or two. Tomorrow, the showers will end early on around 9 or 10 o'clock. The sunshine comes out. It is going to be quite mild with readings up around 60 degrees. Now, that's very warm, about 16 degrees above normal for this time of year. And then as far as the rest of the night, clear, seasonable readings the next couple of days going down a little bit, but it looks like those clouds out to the west are going to kind of overshadow the mild weather.
60 degrees sounds good, though.
It's not bad. Roger?
The remains of some of the 7 who rode Challenger to eternity recovered this weekend. The crew compartment remains on the bottom, weather impeding its retrieval. Some family members angry because they learned of the remains recovery on the news, not from NASA. Carl McNair, father of the late Ronald McNair, the astronaut, knows funerals will follow the memorial of a few weeks ago.
We're going to have to go through pretty much the same thing we went through weeks ago with the memorial services. Only this time it will be a funeral. Now, I feel that we have had time to prepare ourselves for this, so it may not be quite as bad as it was originally.
The father of the late astronaut says the most important thing to him is the way the American people solidified support for the families of the Challenger 7. The Supreme Court of the United States has put some constraints on its Miranda decision. The court says a voluntary confession is valid, even though a suspect was not told his attorney had tried to contact him. The vote today, 6-3.
We'll be back in a moment, and when we do come back, we'll tell you about one New York woman's fight against those who peddle drugs. Stay with us, please.
Sugar. Oh, what a taste! Thanks to the K, you can't visit it!
The Kellogg's Special K Breakfast. Low fat, less than 220 calories. Try it on. You'll like what you see.
Thanks to the K, you can't visit it!
Banks are offering rates for 5 years or longer on their IRAs. Well, not even a crystal ball can predict future rates. Think. Don't lock yourself in for so long. The rates may go up. Come to Banco de Ponce for one of the highest IRA rates in town. Banco de Ponce offers you 9.5% effective yield on an annual rate of 8.95%, guaranteed for 18 months. Call 212-765-0881 for one of the highest rates in town. Banco de Ponce.
If you're under 35, you'll love sheer romance. An evening of jitterbugs, waltzes, tangos, and more. You'll be amazed at how romantic and glamorous dancing used to be. If you're over 35, you already know that ballroom dancing is spectacular. And if you're exactly 35, invite someone special to celebrate sheer romance at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. Tickets at the box office or charge it 944-9300.
At Meineke Discount Mufflers,
I'm not gonna pay a lot for this muffler!
you're not going to pay a lot because Meineke's muffler prices range from $18.93 to $26.95 installed.
Continued criticism of welfare hotels in New York City. A task force appointed by the mayor last fall has a preliminary report on that takes particular aim at the Holland Hotel on 42nd Street near 9th. The report says the Holland is the most expensive welfare hotel in town. The profit rate about 50%, double the profit rate of luxury hotels. All this, says the report, in spite of numerous violations and little in the way of service or security. The owners do not comment.
There was nobody around to help an elderly woman carrying some rather precious cargo last night when her car got a flat tire in Queens. Police say Rosalind Balibo thought the two men who pulled up behind her were coming to help her. Instead, they were coming to rob her. They made off with a briefcase that contained $200,000 worth of jewels. Rosalind Balibo says she sells jewels for a living and was on her way home from a sales show. So far, no sign of the jewels or the thieves, and I presume the tire got fixed. Roger.
In Upper Manhattan, a coke bust, really the result of a landlord's fight to take back control of her building. Art McFarland tells us the pushers have begun to take over, but they ran up against some tough opposition.
Catherine Johnston and her management company got much more than they bargained for when they bought this building at 163rd Street and Broadway.
On December 13th of 1985, we purchased this building. On December 15th, I came here on an emergency and was informed by the superintendent that 25 apartments were taken over by drug dealers and cocaine cutters.
As one resident told me last week, the building has become what amounts to a drug supermarket.
They scream it out, you know, and when a customer comes in, they just say, here, 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 you know, they like crazy. They don't care who is in the way.
Drug dealers have taken over the building. We no longer have any control.
Not one to take all of this lying down, Ms. Johnston started meeting with police and others to get rid of the drug trade in her building. She also hired her own security force of young black belt karate experts led by ex-cop John Manil.
I did 20 years in the police department. It is the worst thing I have ever seen. I mean, I dealt with street gangs who took over buildings and everything. I've never seen anything like this.
Ms. Johnston and her security force waited patiently on Friday for a prearranged police raid of the building. It was to be the first move toward chasing the drug dealers out. As planned, the police arrived. Then they and the black belts raided the building. They did not find all they had expected to find. While there was clear evidence of drug dealing and use in the 4 apartments that were searched and an undisclosed amount of drugs seized, the alleged dealers were not around, and only one arrest was made for possession of cocaine.
They seemed to decide that to take 4 apartments at a time and see what happened, but they said they would definitely take the building back in the future.
The problem is not centered only in Ms. Johnston's building. People who sell drugs, particularly cocaine, are doing a very good business here in the Washington Heights area.
We do sell a lot to our community, but also we find that we are selling also in this district. And I'm talking about the illegal drug dealers in this district are selling to people from New Jersey and from Connecticut and from Westchester. They come in here and they're buying primarily cocaine from the information we have.
I am appalled and amazed that such a thing can continue and go on in the United States of America. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it goes on.
Actions by police and by landlords like Ms. Johnston indicate the beginnings of a war on drugs here in Washington Heights, but everyone involved agrees it will be a long and difficult fight. In Upper Manhattan, Art McFarlane, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Last week, we visited the Mets camp. Tonight, a look at the Yankees in Fort Lauderdale. A report from Spencer Christian in Florida in a moment.
Tweet, 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 tweet. Oh.
This calls for Clean Kitty Plus with new time-released air fresheners. Kills odor, absorbs wetness, works round the clock with new time-released air fresheners to keep air fresh and clean.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
Try new Clean Kitty Plus with new time-released air fresheners and keep your home sweet home.
New York is a whole world in a city where everything is larger than life.
You can't resist the urge to shop. And the fun just never seems to stop.
I love statuesque ladies. And what a lady.
New York, you won my heart. Call us or your travel agent. We'll win your heart.
What every business needs is an overnight express with dependability. Why, I can set my watch when Jim here makes his morning delivery. Dependability. I call for an urgent pickup, presto, Laurie's here. Dependability. And when Glenn comes for his evening pickup, we know it's time to close. Dependability. That's why my overnight express is potato later, pizza later,
Purelator. Courier.
Make a note of it.
For dependability you'll never forget, remember 1-800-EARLY-AM.
Here's the world-famous Metropolitan Life Representative, champion of security for over 43 million people. Reliable source not only of life insurance, but also of auto and homeowners insurance. Trustworthy, conscientious, caring, responsive, experienced, financially shrewd, perspicacious, smart, a true friend in time of trouble. Your Metropolitan Representative. Get Met. It pays.
Posters going up soon asking you that when you celebrate the green, keep New York City clean. The green, of course, St. Patrick's Day. 1 week from today. A coalition of city agencies is behind the effort to rid the parade of ugly incidents. And, of course, the Parks Department is involved.
We'll be installing
10,000 feet of snow fence used as a barrier to keep areas frozen so we can keep people out of it and avoid damage that we've suffered in the past. We'll have 300 people working, combination of enforcement and maintenance people from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night.
All city agencies involved, police, EMS, others will have their headquarters at the Dairy in Central Park on St. Paddy's Day. Well, Corey McFerrin, who is now in hoop heaven.
Well, that's right. I am in hoop heaven, and St. John's is the main topic of conversation. Moments ago, Roger picked up the UPI top 20, and St. John's is ranked number 3. This after the final round of tournaments around the country. Duke is number 1, Kansas 2, and the Redmen are 3. The Redmen, of course, getting ready for sunny Southern California. They'll jet out west tomorrow. First-round matchups with Montana State, the Bobcats. That is set for Friday night. And today, Louis Carnesecca at the office on the horn, trying to find out what he can about these ferocious Bobcats from the Big Sky Conference, watching tapes, taking notes. Louis, who are these guys?
Got nothing to lose. And they're a good ball club. I said one thing, they're very well coached. I called Campanelli out at the University of California, who played them. He said, Lou, they can shoot. They can shoot. And let me tell you one thing, which may be a distinct point. They've played with the three-point rule the entire year. So to us, it's going to be fun picking them out 20, 25 feet. And they've been shooting there. So we have to change our defense and pick them up a little higher.
You never know. You can never sleep on anybody, really, because they can pump themselves up, you know, be a tough competitor.
But don't get all that worried about it. The Bobcats have the worst record in the entire 64-team field. Now, what about the other area teams? Here we go. You got to look at Marist College out of Poughkeepsie. The ECAC Metro champions, their first ever trip to the tournament. They'll play Georgia Tech, tough club from the ACC, Thursday, Baton Rouge. Also, in the Southeast region, Fairfield, Metro Atlantic Conference champions, 24-6 record. They'll take on the University of Illinois. Now, 4 Big East teams make the field, and you got Syracuse, number 2 seed in the East. They're at home at the Carrier Dome to Brown. Brown's first ever appearance. The Midwest region, Georgetown, also, of course, in the Big East. They'll take on Texas Tech, the Southwest Conference champions. Also, the defending national champions, Villanova. Can they get the magic back again? We'll see. They're playing Virginia, not Virginia Tech. Their record 22-8. Well, bad news for Phil Rizzuto fans. The Scooter will not be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. Baseball's Veterans Committee selects 2 former players for the Hall, Bobby Doerr, the late Ernie Lombardi, but not Phil Rizzuto. Phil, of course, at shortstop for the Yankees through the 40s and early 50s, the MVP in 1950 here, making a good play at second base on the charge. 9 World Series in all for Phil. Career batting average at .273 here. Going to tag out Jackie Robinson, kind of a wild play at second base. Phil down in Florida covering the Yankees. No reaction just yet from Phil. Now, down in Florida, all kinds of rain today. The Yankees game with the Rangers is rained out. They'll replay it on Wednesday night. Spencer Christian now following the Yankees around this week. And today, an overall view of what to expect in 86.
The Yankees are getting ready for what they hope will be another season of heavy hitting and big run production. That's why the last drill in every workout is base running in anticipation of lots of scoring. The explosive Yankee lineup from last year is back this year. The big 3, Ricky Henderson, the best leadoff man in the majors. He can hit with power, and run. Don Mattingly, the American League MVP, had a .324 batting average, 35 home runs, and 145 RBIs. And Dave Winfield, perhaps the best all-around player in baseball, 26 home runs, 114 RBIs. There's power all up and down the Yankee lineup.
Our ball club can score runs and score runs in a hurry. We can do it with the long ball, and we can do it with the stolen base. We're going to be an aggressive ball club and utilize what we have, and certainly we're not going to sit back and wait for things to happen.
In addition to the big 3, the entire Yankee starting 8 that finished second with 97 wins last year is back. The extra year's experience should be beneficial.
I think we'll be better because we have a year's more experience and we know what we did last year. We were so close, but not quite close enough.
I think the biggest thing for our ball club is we're together again. We finally, for the first time, I've been here in, I think, 3 years or 4 years in big league camp. We don't have, 2 or 3 new guys who are going to be playing key positions, and we got some continuity for the first time, and I think that's going to help us as much as anything.
The Yankees' biggest problem could be the division they're playing in. The American League East has at least 4 solid contenders for the top spot.
I contend it's the best division in baseball. I don't think there's any other division close. With that many tough teams potentially winning it, anybody watching Eastern Division baseball is in for a real treat.
But you can bet it'll be a greater treat if the Yankee bats can explode again this season. With the Yankees in spring training, Spencer Christian, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, as for the Mets, everybody talking about the kid from Co-op City in the Bronx, Stanley Jefferson. Yesterday, Dwight Gooden gets his first game workout as the Mets beat up on the Cardinals 8-1. Jefferson and Dwight are the stars. Here's Dwight on the mound against John Morris, going to take him out right there, the curveball. Dwight allowing 2 hits, no runs in 3 innings. Now, about the kid from the Bronx. Again, he's an outfielder named Stan Jefferson here in the 8th inning. Gets hold of one. This thing's going downtown to right field. It's 3-1 Mets, and this kid is tough. A guy to watch. Now, he can also play some defense. Here, Sisk, the pitch. A shot to center field. Here comes Jefferson, a diving catch. Again, Stan Jefferson from the Bronx, 8-1. The Mets beat the Cardinals. All right, in Las Vegas tonight, the fights we've all been waiting for. Marvelous Marvin Hagler defending his undisputed world middleweight title against John the Beast Mugabe, while James Shuler puts his North American middleweight crown on the line against Thomas Hearns. Now today, the always friendly social atmosphere of the weigh-in. Mugabe on the left, Hagler on the right. Marvelous One checks in 159.5. The Beast at 157. Then there's Tommy Hearns, Hitman weighing in at 160. Now if Tommy and the Marvelous One can win tonight, we'll see a rematch. Hagler-Hearns in September. Tommy's confident he'll have no problems tonight.
James is definitely a boxer. He's not a brawler, slugger type. So I think it's going to be more of seeing more boxing just for this fight.
Also, we should tell you, tonight at the Nassau Coliseum, the heavyweight we've all been talking about, hearing about, Mike Tyson takes on Steve Zuski. Tyson looking for his 19th knockout in a row. All right, big weekend of games just passed. A quick look at some of the major highlights. Watch closely. Begin with boxing. Welterweight title defense for Donald Curry. Second round, Eduardo Rodriguez has no chance. He's heading for the canvas right there. Curry retains his title, no problems at all. And how about the Robbie Sims-John Collins bout? Sims, the half-brother of Marvin Hagler, all over Collins. Sims takes this one at 2:46 of the first round. Collins has no idea where he is. In hockey, you ever wonder just how tough it is to be a goalie? Try this out. Watch the Kings' Rolly Melanson. Edmonton's Dave Semenko scores it right there, and watch Rolly's reaction. The stick on top, he's going to go crazy there. Breaks it and throws it. Oilers go on to win the game. In Buffalo, Sabres edge the Devils by a goal. Big story, that man, Gilles Perreault. That goal, the 500th goal of his very significant career, really. Very, very fine career, Gilles Perreault, a name that I'm not very good at saying, as a matter of fact. That's it for now.
I think you did fine. Thank you, Corey. Big weekend, rather, of games, too, on Chinese television. As many as 300 million of them gathered around the tube in China to watch the championships of a game they called olive ball. A 102-year-old man said he was delighted by the olive ball contest. It's fierce, it's intense, and I don't get it at all, he said. One favorite player in the olive ball game was a player named Jian Bingcheng, and he played for the winning Zhou Chong team. One olive ball fan shouted, "Did you hear that? They just called him the electric refrigerator." Of course, he spoke in Chinese. I don't have to tell you that Zhou Chong translates from the Chinese as giant bears, and that the olive ball game was the Super Bowl. A public service broadcast, I suppose, by Chinese TV, and some lucky Chinese took the bears and gave the points. The concern over radon spreads throughout the tri-state area. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it's there, and it's blamed for thousands of cases of lung cancer. We have a report in a moment.
Folks, it's unbelievable. People have come for miles to be first. They've been waiting for days to save money at the big event. They've postponed important plans for Hyundai's grand opening X celebration. The Hyundai XL is here. Finally, a car that makes sense. Choose an XL 4-door or 5-door. It's our grand opening X celebration. For your nearest New York, New Jersey Hyundai dealer, call this toll-free number today.
You've heard about it.
Now it's time to do something about it.
Visit Siemens' Spring Spectacular Sellout.
Now in its 4th day.
The perfect day to buy this elegant new lacquer bedroom.
Siemens sellout price only $9.99.
Or choose this striking bedroom group.
Siemens sellout price just $5.99.
Best of all, you'll discover great values in every department. All your favorite styles.
But hurry, selection is limited.
Don't miss Siemens' Spring Spectacular Sellout. Going on now.
Financing is available. Get immediate delivery.
With this new price finder for specials, you won't miss specials. It's a new way to shop for bargains. The new Grand Union Price Finder for specials contains all the specials in the store, hundreds of them. Here's a sample. Tetley tea bags, 100 count, $1.69 with coupon. Oodles of noodles, all varieties, 3-ounce package, 6 for $1. Chicken of the sea, chunk light tuna in oil or water, 6½ ounces, 59 cents. The Grand Union Price Finder for specials helps you find the best prices every day.
And that's traffic. I'm Alan Combs, WABC Talk Radio. We're going to talk with the voice behind your dashboard that tells you when your door is ajar. And if it is, maybe you should twist it closed.
Alan Combs enlivens you.
These yours? Would you send your child into space? We'll have Jack Anderson discussing his talk with the president about his Young Astronauts program.
Alan Combs enlightens you.
Yours could be the face to launch 1,000 products. Next hour, a woman who puts everyday people in commercials. Is that your face?
Alan B. Combs talks to you. Mornings on WABC Talk Radio, 77 AM.
If you've been ordering chicken or fish sandwiches at your favorite fast food place, it turns out they may not be quite so healthful as you think they are. A study by the Harvard Medical School points out that the chicken and the fish is often fried in the same beef tallow that hamburgers are fried in. That loads the fish with saturated fat and cholesterol, and that worries MDs.
We're all trying to cut down on the amount of fat that we eat, and so we trim the fat from the beef that we eat, and we find that there are other places in the diet we might be getting it that we don't know about. Beef tallow in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's just that the amount of fat that we eat should be moderated.
The Boston Globe reports that Burger King has already switched from cooking in beef tallow to frying its food in vegetable oil. Spokesman for McDonald's, however, says that chain cooks the way it does in beef tallow because the customers at McDonald's like the way the food tastes when it comes out of it. Roger.
The Supreme Court says people may not file suits in state courts to clean up radioactive waste sites licensed by the federal government. Also, a congressional study concludes that 3/4 of the nation's police and firemen are not adequately trained on what to do when accidents involving transportation of hazardous materials happen. The invisible radioactive gas radon may be contaminating millions of people, many more than originally thought. Larry Menti tells us the numbers of people exposed to the gas growing.
You can't see it, but it's there. A radioactive gas called radon that seeps through small cracks in the earth. It's harmless when it dispenses into the atmosphere, but when it is trapped inside a house, it can accumulate to levels that can cause lung cancer. Radon is a byproduct of uranium deposits. One of the largest deposits in the United States is called the Redding Prong. It runs from Pennsylvania through northern New Jersey and into New York. There are over 1 million houses that sit on the prong, and this week, health officials expanded the area potentially affected by the prong to include 2 million more houses.
It's quite significant. Primarily now we're talking about many more homes beyond what they said before. It's now going to be included into the health risk that you have now for the radon. It's a very bad health hazard.
The National Cancer Institute considers radon the second leading cause of lung cancer after cigarette smoking. Federal health officials believe that radon causes between 5,000 and 20,000 deaths each year. So there is reason for concern if you live on or near the Redding Prong.
You should take it seriously, but at the same time, you must look at it rationally. There are certain things that you can do yourself. First of all, if you do have the problem, then you can go about decreasing the amount of concentration, and you know what rooms to be careful in your own home.
Sam Pinkert of the Radon Task Force in New Jersey says that not every house that sits on the prong collects high levels of radon. As a matter of fact, one house may have high levels and the neighboring houses may not. To find out if your house has unsafe levels, he suggests this device called the radon detector, the same device recommended by Senator Bill Bradley. It only costs $12 and is available by sending a check or money order to the Radon Project, Physics Department, University of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, PA, zip code 15260. In New Jersey, Larry Menti, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
New York City's new convention center needs some help. We'll have a report when we come back.
Crack open the morning of a brand new day. Coast starts you off in a special way. The morning begins when Coast touches your skin. The cool brisk scent really opens your eyes, makes you come alive. That clean Coast feeling gets you going again. Coast, what a great way to begin.
Oh, there you are, Sonny. These frozen turkeys have more oil than JR. Got any fresh Shady Brook Farms?
Look, lady, you want fresh turkey, you look in the fresh meat case.
Oh, thank you, Sonny.
Unlike some turkey, every cut of Shady Brook Farms comes fresh, without oils or additives.
Watch your step, Sonny. Goodbye.
Good.
Bye.
Look for Shady Brook Farms turkey in the fresh meat case at these stores.
The finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Grey Poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
I have tasted the future. It's around $1.69.
The Budget Gourmet, tender sirloin tips, delicate bay shrimp, and more. The taste of things to come.
This business day sees a bit of hopeful movement in the flight attendant strike at TWA. Both sides have agreed to go back to talking on Wednesday. But the pickets are still out, and so are many TWA flights. The carrier hopes to have all service restored by the end of the week, but the Machinists Union, honoring the flight attendants' picket line, could make that pretty hard to do. TWA is trying to get an injunction against the machinists observing the picket line of the flight attendants. Japan Airlines has some good news for Boeing. An order for $800 million for new aircraft was announced today. The auto workers, however, are not so lucky. General Motors today announced it's laying off more than 10,000 workers because of backlogs in the showrooms. That is not to discourage Volkswagen workers in Pennsylvania. They just won wage parity with GM auto workers, all part of a new 3-year contract. And oil price cuts are now trickling down to the local gas stations, as I think you know. The average price per gallon is expected to drop below the $1 mark through this area by the end of the month. Around the country, it's already done so. Wall Street, the 1700 mark crossed again. The Dow finished the day at 1702.95, up 3.12 on a volume of 129,930,000 shares. The Jacob Javits Convention Center, due to open on April 1st, is having some headaches at the 11th hour. And one major headache, as we report in this item from Crane's business desk. The Javits Center took almost $500 million and 6 years to build. And still, city officials have complained about its planning. Some see traffic chaos, some say it's too small, and wonder why the Galleria, 56,000 square feet, available for shops and a major restaurant complex, remains in limbo. I'm in the middle of what's going to be the restaurant area at the Jacob Javits Convention Center. It's going to be a big restaurant, 22,000 square feet, and it will need a lot of customers. But right now, it's a restaurant that more than anything else needs someone who will build it.
A lot of people would like to take it on. However, we're asking them to invest all of the money. In this case, we're asking all of the investment, every single dollar, to come from the private developer. So therefore, we limit the number of developers who are available to invest $8 to $10 million.
Many people who would put the money into the restaurant and retail space at the convention center are staying out of it because they don't think this area is going to be busy enough.
But anyone coming here has to be deemed maybe, perhaps, a pioneer. But if they survive the pioneering period, and I don't see why they would not if we strike a proper financial deal here that's equitable, the long-term prospects are enormous.
So the Javits Convention Center waits and hopes for a developer. Countries that are developing find turmoil. In Panama, a general strike was called today, that to protest austerity measures demanded in Panama by the World Bank. And in Mexico, inflation so far this year is reported at 14%. And that adds pressure, of course, to the economic crisis in Mexico. That is our business report on this Business Day Monday. Roger.
Coming up, the musical story of how to end a newscast when we continue.
It'll work on your dandruff.
Yeah, but I'm afraid it won't leave my hair the way I like it.
Hey, this is great stuff.
Today's Head & Shoulders.
It's all I use.
Okay.
Tough dandruff protection that works only on your scalp, not your hair. Gentle conditioners go there.
Tough on dandruff, right?
But great on hair.
Today's Head & Shoulders. Dandruff care that's good for your hair.
There's only one radio station in New York that specializes in songs you can sing along with. WLTW, light music at 106.7 FM. And here's the best part. Light FM gives you favorites by Streisand, Mathis, Lionel Richie, all greats by the best people making music with hardly any talk or interruptions. There's no other radio station like it in New York. Listen right here at 106.7 WLTW, Light FM.
Spring is in the air, so now you can clean out the attic, pull out the weeds, throw out your arm, or you can do something you really want to do. Take a trip on American Airlines, because they're having the Spring for Less sale. You see, American just lowered their Ultimate Super Saver fares, just $29 to $119 anywhere they fly in the continental U.S. You know, with fares this low, flying may become the great American pastime.
When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you.
Test drive the 1986 Subaru and get 2 free tickets to the Virginia Slims Championships at Madison Square Garden, March 17th through the 23rd. See Martina Navratilova, Chris Everett Lloyd, and 14 more of the top women's players battle for the #1 ranking in the world. Test drive the 86 Subaru today and get 2 free tickets to the Virginia Slims Championships from your New York, New Jersey Subaru dealer.
Yesterday was the Easter Seal Telethon, the yearly appeal to the hearts of America for help for the children and adults of our country who live their lives disabled. And it was a real success this year. The Easter Seal Telethon raised pledges of $30.1 million, almost 10% more than they brought in last year. Says something about two things: the prosperity of the country and, of course, the willingness of Americans to share their prosperity with those people who need help. And we're going to share a little time now with Stormfield.
Thank you, Bill. Things are looking up. If you're liking a little bit of warmer weather coming our way, tomorrow it looks to be the day. As a matter of fact, temperatures are going to be far above normal. But first we have to get through tonight, which shows some increasing cloudiness as the storm system makes its way towards us, and some showers developing, which will ultimately end by tomorrow morning. Temperatures pretty much hovering where they are right now. As far as tomorrow, well, the showers will end in the early morning, let's say around 9, 10 o'clock. The sun comes through and we clear out, but the temperature is still expected to reach up to about 60 degrees, except for Long Island. Note that we slowly begin to go back to normal, which is 46 degrees this time of year, but we stay up around 50. Wednesday looks to be a good day, then clouds and showers coming in for the end of the week, along with a little bit cooler weather. Roger.
Eyewitness News has found a man whose memories are music, and using music, he has stored away his youth in a warehouse.
You cannot tell by looking at this place from the outside what is going on the inside. Inside is the past, most of it in the form of music. Grady Allen operates Musically Yours, a warehouse time warp of old jukeboxes, blues, and jazz memorabilia. He thinks he's got about 600 items for sale here.
Yes, sir. We've got the jukeboxes in here from late 20s to the 60s, and got them restored, unrestored, and parts machines, a little bit of everything.
Then there are the records.
I'm sure I have over 500,000 45s out of print 45s, dating back to early 50s through date. And 78s, I have quite a large collection. I probably have 20, 30,000 old 78s.
There's the cigar store Indian, the old gas pumps, the kids' barber chair, beer cans with a monkey on their back, vintage cars, and I don't know what all.
On my knees every day, all I do is pray, baby,
Don't stop loving, then you got 59 minutes to go.
My favorite place in this warehouse of history is in a couple of the back rooms where Alan keeps more of his records. He does not know what he's got in some of these piles. Allen is going to auction off most of this stuff and head off to Oklahoma. But he'll be leaving behind for Houstonians a lot of his and their past. This is John Davenport reporting.
Well, when your news is good news, I'm Roger Grimsby.
Peter Jennings is next on Channel 7 with the ABC World News Tonight. I'm Bill Butel. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Good luck. Be well.